Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. One last stage for the major means one last set of predictions. Now, we've already done the opening stage, the elimination stage, and now it's into the playoffs. I'm going to be there in person. It's going to be a great time, and especially now with how stacked this bracket is, it's absolutely all to play for. And this is looking like one of the most stacked kind of playoff brackets we've had in a long, long time. So I'm really glad to see. You know, Blast was not one-sided, but a couple of those kind of tier 2 teams came through where we weren't expecting to go all too far. Granted, Game Legion did, but it was still one of those things where a lot of people, a lot of the casuals especially, want to see a lot of those bigger names, and that is what we're getting here, right? We're getting all of these big names coming through, so it's very, very exciting times. What we're going to do, of course, is, as we've always done, is run through what my pick was going to be and what went wrong, let's say, in the last stage. Let's have a look at where we are at now. Currently find ourselves into the playoffs. We need 3 out of possible 3. I'm pretty sure we need to get it all right for the gold. It's a little cursed. Of course, I'm going to stick with what I said, though. I will be giving away a knife for getting it wrong in the previous stage. We'll take a look how that went very briefly as well. We were close, man. FaZe and Vitality not going 3-0 really let me down. The O3s as well, got to give both of them a lot of credit. They actually did a lot better than I thought, especially that of Ecstatic. Even taking a map off G2, I didn't think that was going to be really a possibility. And the fact that we ended up getting Furia as an O3 was definitely not in my sort of expectation, especially because they weren't terrible in the first stage. They weren't great, but they still looked like they were warming up a little bit. But yeah, not great from them. Mongols didn't look great either. And then, of course, Spirit and VP. VP is probably the talk of the town off the back of what happened to them. Just the game crashing when they were arguably about to win that post plan. You hate to see it. You really do. It's brutal, right? It really is. But, that's the game. It's basically the onus is on Counter-Strike to fix the game, right? But either way, let's get in towards my pick'ems on where we're going and why we're going for these heading in towards the playoffs. So here are the teams we've got. Cloud9, Vitality, Team Spirit, FaZe, Eternal Fire, Na'Vi, MOUZ, and G2. Absolutely stacked here. This one is going to be good. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this in person as well. I'm flying out in 2 days' time for the major, so exciting times indeed. Let's get into the games individually. All of these matchups as well have some level of history, so to say, behind them, which I think is going to be one of the more exciting things. There's narratives that, coming in towards us. I've got a couple of them up on my right hand side. So we got FaZe versus Spirit, of course, a game that is very recent to all of us, with that of the IEM Kato Grand Finals. That's probably one of the biggest kind of names coming in. MOUZ G2, that one, of course, was the Pro League Season 18 quarterfinals. That was back on Go, but at the same time, that was the last time they played each other at kind of that top playoff level coming through. Eternal Fire and Na'Vi, that was the lower bracket Elim game back in Kato in a couple of months ago. And then, of course, the final one, our first one, that of Vitality taking on Cloud9. And that was the Blast 4 finals for 2023. That was also in the Royal Arena as well. And that was a semi-final. So there's a rematch across all of these games in some way. And we're going to kickstart things with Vitality taking on Cloud9. Now, there's been all the talks about ZywOo being ill, being under the weather, but you still got to bank on your boy. For me, Vitality is going to be the one I want to go through to take it here. This is a side who, for me, have looked really good, despite maybe ZywOo not feeling 100%. And as he starts to recover and kind of get over the flu and all that, hopefully we get to see a little bit more out of him. He can have his kind of Jordan flu game type vibes coming in towards the playoffs. That'd be pretty cool if he's able to do that. For Cloud9, I've actually really liked Cloud9 this major. They've looked very solid. The opening stage and the Elim, both really, really good. It's just there's a few things where, you look at the kind of the lack of an AWP, the conversation we always talk about with Shiro now no longer on this team. It's how deep can this team really go with essentially 5 riflers and one of them just picking up the AWP when it works for them, primarily Boomage in this case. There's still a lot of question marks and reservations for me about Cloud9 in latter stages, when it kind of matters most. And for me, that's where I don't really think Vitality have that same thing about them. I feel like this is a side who are so solid when they want to be. And if ZywOo does come out into playoffs the way he normally does and can play well, I want to say that Vitality can take this one. Now, heading into Team Spirit FaZe Clan, as much as I love FaZe, I think this one's going to be an absolute rematch. Team Spirit still look like Team Spirit. They're still looking like this side who were dominant at Kato. They came in towards the Elim stage as we saw here, and some of these wins are absolutely dominant. 13-7 over Cloud9, 13-2 over Imperial and a relatively comfortable 2-1 over Na'Vi. So for me, it just feels like it's pretty locked into place that we're going to see Team Spirit be able to take down FaZe Clan. I love FaZe Clan a lot, but Team Spirit at the moment looks so damn scary. And it's not even just Dong. You've got Zontix putting up unbelievable numbers, and Shiro looking incredible too, and Chopper calling a masterclass as well. Everything is slotting itself into place. So I really do want to see what Team Spirit can do, and that's going to be a spicy quarterfinal if that is to happen. Or maybe, may I say, not quarterfinal, semi-final, may I say. Then heading into the other side of the bracket, Eternal Fire and Na'Vi. This was actually quite tough to call. For a while, I really wanted to lean in favor of Na'Vi just for the narrative of this kind of side on the comeback. But I think for me, coming in towards the playoffs with how they've played so far, I actually want to go Eternal Fire. This side have looked incredible. Major's putting up some of the best numbers. I think he's the highest rated IGL coming in towards this. He's looked incredible. Zantares is back on form, putting up just monstrous numbers. Woxix had a couple of question marks where he's had a couple of missing performances, but overall this team is so good. And Wakadia, as the youngster, man, so damn reliable. Steps up in big moments time and time again. I really want to bank on kind of this Turkish super team and the narrative of a first. I think it's the first time a Turkish team has been at a major. It was someone saying 6 years, I think it was, something along those lines. So pretty insane to say the least. So yeah, man, I really want to see Eternal Fire do well, and for that reason, I'm going to pick them coming in. They look insane. Zantares on LAN, a monster, an animal. So I'm a big fan of what we've seen so far. Pardon me. Final game here in the bracket. G2 taking on MOUZ. Now, we already mentioned there was a, that Pro League match that happened. MOUZ did end up winning that, but I'm going to go the other way here. I think G2 have been given a lifeline heading in towards playoffs. There's an argument that they maybe shouldn't even be here as well at that kind of 11-11 post plan. If they had won that, money would have been broken for G2, and who knows what would have happened. But, nobody knows what would happen if it went the other way. That's the main thing. But for the reason of G2 and the caliber of what they can bring to a playoffs, individuals like NiKo can step up. I still have faith in, youngsters like m0NESY who can really put up some serious numbers. I'm hoping for that Hunter that we've seen as of kind of last year, rather than maybe what we've seen at the start of this year. I still think the only real reservations about this team is Nexa. I mean, obviously, it's been a bit of a focal point with the -JKS plus Nexa, but it does go missing at times, but at the same time, so far this major's actually looked really good. This tournament specifically, Nexa's looked considerably better than what he has maybe when he was first introduced into the team. So for that reason alone, I'm going to give them that, this win over MOUZ. I like MOUZ. Yimvat's playing incredible. I think he averaged a 1.7 in the elimination stage, which is nuts. But can they do it against G2 is a big question. Can they stop m0NESY or NiKo? I'm unsure. I still have my question marks about Brolin. So we'll see how it plays out. I'd like to see G2 make a decent run just to make a name for themselves. If they don't, then there's probably the question marks around G2 and whether that change of Nexa was the right one or whether something else needs to be changed. Who knows? Now heading into Vitality taking on Team Spirit. As much as I'd love to make the narrative of Vitality making it through, I'm going to have to go Spirit here again. I think at the moment Spirit just look unstoppable to a degree. They've had their hiccups and their question marks here, there, and everywhere, but that elimination stage was so solid from them to a point where, I mean, it makes me even think, can any team really solidly take them down and make it look comfortable? And at the moment, it's not really been the case. Of course, we saw in the elim stage how good they looked, and coming in towards playoffs, they're on such a hot form right now that I think Vitality, the reigning champs, are really going to be made to work for it, and I don't know whether they have it in the ability, especially considering they didn't go flawless in the elim stage. They did look a little bit rough around the edges at times as well. We can talk about, Zywo feeling under the weather or whatever, but as a team, it wasn't all there. And for that reason alone, I'm going to go Team Spirit in this specific matchup, because I think they have a really solid chance. Then heading into the bottom side of the bracket, Eternal Fire G2. As much as I love the Eternal Fire narrative and what they've done, I'm actually going to go G2 here to make their way through. I think in that specific matchup, they just have the firepower alone to take it down. If you're looking at kind of raw pound-for-pound comparisons, m0NESY, don't even really need to talk about that in terms of versus Woxic, just because how really, rough Woxic has looked, and m0NESY's still looking like one of the best players in the world. Zantares taking on NiKo. Yes, Zantares has looked unreal, but it's NiKo, right? And I think when it comes down to it, you've got to always bank on him. The only real maybe difference maker is when you look at maybe individuals like Calyx versus Nexa, or kind of Major versus HooXi. That's actually a pretty decent comparison in terms of where maybe you'd look at like Major, for example, in terms of just the raw fragging power. But I still think G2 have got it in the bank. And then it leaves a beautiful, beautiful grand final. Team Spirit taking on G2. That is a sick, sick final, if that is to be the case. And for me, in the same way what happened in Kato, I think the same thing will happen here to G2, where they just will get overwhelmed by just the raw firepower, the sheer gall that Team Spirit have been kind of bringing to every game so far. This is a side that still don't look stoppable, in my opinion, and for that reason, I'm going to lock them in as the major winners. So that's going to be what I'm going for. Team Spirit G2 final, Team Spirit to take it over all. That's where I am going. I think to get gold, I need to go flawless all the way through this, which or flawless. I need to get, I think it's 2 out of 4 in the first round, and then you need to get both of them right. Something along those lines. I don't exactly know how it is. I mean, you need 2 out of 4 for the first, 1 out of 4 for the second, and the final person right, I think is how it works. But yeah, it's a big ask. We'll see. We will still do the knife giveaway at some point, so that'll be over on Twitter post-major. So give it like a week or so. I'm going to find a suitable knife and get it traded over to my inventory, and then we'll do a little giveaway for it. But that is what we're going to be locking in, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for watching once again. Nice and easy stuff. Let me know what you guys are going for. If you're still on for the diamond as well, let me know. That'll be sick to hear. There's not a lot of people still on for it, so let me know if you are. Until next time, take care.